Alright, hang on to your britches. Here comes the build for the Live Edge Hackberry coffee table. Woo! Excited about this.
I'll make back wood.
That's me. This is the slab when we got it in this condition. And make sure if you guys want to get involved, the best way, follow me on Instagram and make decisions. So to start, we had to make some cleanup cuts to this slab to make sure it's in working order. So we made that cut there. And then we're going to cut off that little piece. And the idea there was to try to make the void kind of flush with itself, because we're going to fill that in with epoxy. And the last cut is going to be the end piece. We're going to square off that piece as well. Alright, the next step is to clean off the loose bark. Oh, look at this muscular guy slinging around slabs. And we're going to use an angle grinder to clean out this bark. And I'm using a soft wire wheel on this angle grinder to clean off the bark. And what that does is it only takes off the bark. It won't go through hardwood, so it's perfect for this. And it's only $6, and I'll put the link below. Next up, we're using a West System epoxy. It's a quick drying epoxy, and we're going to be using it to seal the edges, which in this case is the void in the middle of the slab. And I like West System because it's only one pump of each. You don't have to measure it, and then you mix it up about 3 minutes real good, and it's ready to go. And I'm just going to slather this on any edge that's going to come in contact with the big epoxy pour. And what that's going to do is help mitigate those little bubbles that we get when we do an epoxy pour where the epoxy meets the slab. And it's going to also help protect the wood so the epoxy color doesn't penetrate the wood too deep. The downside of this is we got to scrape it up once it dries. And you don't have to seal the edges, you can just do the straight epoxy pour, but I was worried with this being a light wood and I'm using a black epoxy, I didn't want the color to seep into the light wood and kind of stain it. Alright, next step in preparing for the epoxy pour is to seal the bottom. This is the bottom of the slab and we're using tuck tape, and the epoxy won't stick to the tuck tape, and so I'm trying to really make sure that the tuck tape is sealed to the slab and has a good glue up. I'm also using the sharpest scissors ever, but it just won't. It has trouble cutting tuck tape. And I really want to make sure I have the best seal because I don't want to have an epoxy leak. So I do the karate chop, I do the one finger rub here. I'm really trying. Oh, here comes the thumb, the palm. What was that? The 4-finger slide. Here you go. I like that one. I'm gonna work that. Oh, the inchworm. Call that. Here's a palm push and scoop. Yep, that works. Oh, the infamous super sharp scissors that can't cut tape. Those are great. If you guys make sure you guys get some good scissors, you know? Who knew that would be so important? Alright, so once we get that taped up, we're ready for the epoxy pour. And so I mixed up some epoxy and put in some black dye and pour it right in there. For the little voids, I'm using this syringe, which came in clutch. So we're about good to go, and I came down the next day and saw the epoxy was only half full, and we had an epoxy leak, which not good. Pretty much freaked out, but you can check out my other video on how to unstick this, because it was stuck to the workbench. And now I'm just flattening. I got it off the workbench and I'm flattening the bottom side of it. So the bottom side is going to be a flat surface. And the bottom looks good, but since we're doing another pour, we got to scar up the epoxy. And I'm using the heat gun to get rid of those bubbles. Now it's time to surface the top side. And the final pass for the top side surfacing. Now it's time to sand for 3 days. I think this is probably my least favorite. I don't know if you like sanding. You're probably, I don't know, something's wrong with you. This is a cool trick for sanding though. Is use a pencil and just go over very lightly, like over the wood or the slab or whatever you're trying to sand, and it helps me make sure I hit every area. It keeps an equal sanding, so there's not kind of slopes or lumps or whatnot, or any sort of rough spots. And more sanding. Alright, it's starting to look pretty. And we're going to be using Osmo finish on this, and this is way too much finish. If you're wondering, don't use this much. Not necessary. This stuff, I found out, spreads very easily. And this, on the other hand, even though I do hate sanding, this is probably my favorite part because you get to see the true colors of the slab and everything comes to life. And I'm just using a 3M white pad on the bottom of my orbital, kind of as a buffer. We're almost there. We're in the home stretch, getting the legs on there, making the holes for the threaded insert. I'm using threaded inserts to attach the table legs. I use a little wood glue in here just to kind of lube it up before it gets in and kind of sets it in place, but I've since actually moved to CA glue. I think it's a stronger, tighter fit and a way better bond. Now we just attach the legs they wanted with bolts that screw into the threaded inserts. And if they ever want to take them off, they can just unscrew them. And voila, we're done. Osmo finish really gives it a nice sheen, but not too much, and I like that. Oh yeah, here's these worm markings on the bark that we were able to keep. Those things are beauties. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.
I'll make back what